Hello, and thanks for checking out Missed Meals and Cold Coffee. I'm Chef Lethal, and I've had some mild success on the internet as a live streamer, so I thought I'd bring those talents and my own life experiences to chat with you about parenthood. I'll cover topics ranging from infertility to the adoption process, while hopefully having some fun in the meantime. Now, before we get into the episode, my legal team has prepared the following disclaimer.
This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Any medical advice or information given by the host, Chef Lethal, or any of his guests should not be taken seriously or acted upon without the express consent of an actual medical professional. Please call your doctor if you experience an erection lasting longer than 4 hours, as this may be an unintended side effect. Please follow Chef Lethal on Twitter at Chef Lethal Plays and on Twitch at twitch.tv/Chef Lethal Plays.
Now, with that out of the way, on to the show. Hello and welcome back to another show, another Missed Meals and Cold Coffee. I just noticed that, and you probably won't be able to tell this if you're just listening to the show, but if you watch it either live on twitch.tv/Chef Lethal Plays or on YouTube, I think as soon as I start talking, I always move the microphone a little bit. Like, I sit here for 3 or 4 minutes before I start the show, just kind of, getting comfy and getting everything where I need it. And every single time I move the microphone, even though I put it where I put it originally, because that's where I want it. Anyway, this is a weird start. I'm Chef Lethal, and this is Missed Meals and Cold Coffee, show number 8, which is amazing. Another thing that's amazing is the legal team repeating their disclaimer identically every single week. They get it right every single time. I don't know how they do it. It's almost like they have it recorded. It's crazy how quickly and precisely they say what they need to say every single time. Speaking of saying what people are saying when they have to, I've got some housekeeping and caveats as usual as we get into the top of the show here. Today's topic I'm calling either the lead up to Baby Emergence Day or B-Day or something, because we're over the course of the last 7 now episodes, we've kind of walked through, the process that we went through being pregnant and going through everything. But now we're kind of getting to the home stretch of essentially, birthday is in sight, the due date is in sight, and things that, kind of needed to be done and making sure things are done. So hopefully this show will be helpful for people that are expecting and maybe mildly freaking out that they don't have something done that they think they should when there's still 6 months to go. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So one thing that I do want to mention, I kind of just touched on it a second ago, but we are live on Twitch right now. Excuse me, hold on. Ooh, lunch was caught in my throat a little bit. So we are live on Twitch right now, twitch.tv/Chef Lethal Plays. You can come anytime you want. You click the follow button. You can get a notification if you want. Anytime I go live, you can catch a show live and kind of get a glimpse into a future episode. Also, of course, Twitter, Instagram, Ko-fi. Something I don't plug enough, and I rarely do anyway, but it's my Discord server. If you don't know what Discord is, it's kind of like group chat for the community. So if you go to discord.gg/lethalgastropub, you can join the server, and there's a couple of us. It's not super active, but it's a place that we can all hang out just in our normal day to day and just kind of just chat and have a good time with some good people. So do that, and please. But yeah, Twitter, Instagram, you know the deal. Chef Lethal Plays on there. And again, the show goes live on Spotify and YouTube on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Into the caveats, of course, the show, particularly this one, I mean, all of the episodes so far, but this one especially is just my experience. I'm just going to be giving the advice based on what we went through. We had a relatively smooth process, a couple of hiccups here and there, nothing serious, but your mileage may vary. Again, I've probably said this 6 times already, but every pregnancy is different, and listen to your doctor and blah blah blah. I'm just some guy on the internet who recently had a baby. I didn't have the baby, but you know what I mean. So although my experience might be different from hundreds of other people, I wish 100 people would listen to this. It's still there will still be an element of data that rings true, I suppose. And then just like last week, I will be using the traditional husband-wife terminology just because there are too many configurations of people having children. So I'm not going to bother, because then the show will be seven hours long of me just, stepping over myself to make sure I say the right thing. Speaking of 7 hour show, this is going to be probably, I'm guessing, a slightly longer show, because this one in particular, I usually try to keep them around 30 to 40 minutes. I'm going to guess this one's going to go a little bit longer than that, because my notes are extensive. I have a lot to say, so we got to get right into it. Speaking of twitch.tv, Rose Rain joining the chat. Hello, Rose. Welcome on in. Hope you are doing amazingly. Now, the point that I want to really drive home today is that there are so many resources for people to research or get information for the pregnancy process and leading up to the birth. There are books, blogs, videos, I'm sure audiobooks, PowerPoint presentations, just seminars, webinars. I don't even know, but I'm sure there's hundreds of different ways that people can research their own things. But what I found, and I'm still finding, is there's a lot of fluff out there. Like the whole truth isn't being told, or they kind of skirt around some of the parts that don't read well on paper or whatever. But I am a very truthful person, and anytime anyone asks me a question, I'm going to give you the truth. And it doesn't help, an expecting couple to, read an article, expect it to be accurate. And it's like, oh, they left out the part where, there's explosive diarrhea. I don't know if they cover that. I don't read the books, but I'm here to tell you that it happens. Okay. It happens. I also want to give some helpful tips, and you'll see as we kind of get into the content here, helpful tips that will help you prepare for the day, and just kind of steps along the way that we found that what we really needed to have done before we brought our baby home. And then since I just went through this a few months ago, it's like insider information right from the source here. It's relatively fresh in my head. I haven't concussed myself in a way that I lost the memories. So there's a famous book that I'd almost be willing to say every pregnant woman has read or reads or gets or borrows from the library or whatever. And it's called What to Expect When You're Expecting. It's a big book, and it covers a lot of stuff, but it doesn't cover everything. It's kind of one of these, it's very factual, and it'll tell you, in the 4th week of your pregnancy, expect this, you might start to feel this and this and that, but it's like almost clinical, and it doesn't cover everything. So I'm certainly not going to cover everything. I'm no expert. I can only go through my experience, but you got to keep in mind that all of these other resources, including this one that you're listening to right now, isn't going to cover everything, and there's always going to be a question mark over something, because something's going to come up and you're not going to have researched it. One thing I wanted to mention last episode, it was actually in my notes, and it tripped me up in the show. If you listen to last week's show, you might be able to tell kind of at some point I trip up, because I had notes in my show notes for last episode that I was like, why did I write this for the COVID baby shower? It wasn't even relevant. So I did have one point that I wanted to make, is after the baby shower, assuming that you have one in some capacity, and that you have friends and family and whatever that care about you, and you get some gifts, finding room for gifts can be stressful, and they don't tell you that. Nobody tells you that, but they just, everyone's so excited to get gifts, which who isn't excited to get gifts? But we got a ton of stuff for our baby shower. We were very blessed. Like, our family went all in for us, because this is going to be our only baby. We adopted the 2 older ones, but this is our only baby, so we didn't have anything. It's not like most people that have 2 kids and then have a 3rd one where you have stuff already. We didn't have anything. So we got the high chair, we got bassinet, we got the crib, we got this. But the problem is, we only have a finite amount of space. And our baby shower was in August, and our baby wasn't born until the end of September. So we had to Our garage was and still is just an absolute disarray. I barely have enough space in there for my gym. We have a 3-car garage now. Keep that in mind. Florida property values are great, by the way, in the suburbs. So anyway, that can add a layer of stress, and you have to be prepared for that because, say you get 4 boxes of diapers. One, don't open them all, because you're probably not going to, if you get 4 boxes of newborn diapers, you're not going to need them. Open one at a time. And then when your baby is grown, before you're even through the second box, you can go return the other 2 and exchange them for the next step up. So that out of the way, you get the stress out of the way of organizing all of the blessings that you have. We're going to talk about the first few months now. So after you find out pregnant, like I said, episode 2, infertility was an issue. We did not expect this to happen. So we had a few, well, mostly ups, a little bit of downs, but nothing serious. Mostly lying around the fact that Mrs. Lethal was a high risk because of the previous blood clots. So she was on blood thinners and stuff, and it's like, oh gosh. So it's just an extra thing that we had to be on the lookout for. Is that so that immediately rules out, like, when you're on blood thinners, you can't have foods that will thicken your blood. So like vitamin K helps your blood coagulate, and it can offset any blood thinning that you're doing. So she couldn't have salads. She doesn't need a ton of vegetables, but she couldn't have salads. And she really enjoys salad, but lettuce and greens are high in vitamin K, and ipso facto can't have it. So, and then normally, people will often wait after they find out they're pregnant. They'll wait till about the 12th week to tell their friends and family that they're pregnant. And there's a reason for that. And it's because if something bad is going to happen, bad as in you're no longer pregnant, that's generally going to happen within the first 12 weeks. So it can be really hard. It can be hard for a number of reasons. Clearly, we didn't have an issue. We expected, we had a few times where there was a small situation where we got a little bit of a scare, and Mrs. Lethal looked something up, and it turned out to be nothing, or she had to go to the doctor as a normal checkup and asked about it, and everything was fine. But in those early days and weeks, I wasn't excited for the baby, so I was kind of looking at it as that this can be our way out. I'm not ready for a baby. We're not ready. We weren't ready. We didn't expect this to happen. So clearly all of those feelings passed. I just want to get that out there. There's the other caveat. I love my daughter more than I ever thought I could ever love a baby. So I just need to get that out of the way. But in the beginning of pregnancy, I wasn't excited. I was scared. I didn't want it. So, that's where we come. That's where we come to. One of the hardest things that can be for a transition, assuming everything's going okay, you get to the 12th week, you have a healthy, growing human inside. You can tell people, everyone can be super happy for you. One thing that can be tough, especially if you have older children that happen to drive you absolutely up the wall insane, is you can't drink. And I know that there are husbands out in the world that take a vow of sobriety with their wife as a solidarity thing, like, we're in this together. But no, I am not that guy. Sorry, but it can be tough. It can be tough. Other things that are real about pregnancy is morning sickness is real. Obviously, there's this stereotype that every woman, wakes up in the middle of the night and just runs to the toilet to throw up, and it's just a mess, and it happens, and they're so miserable all the time. And part of that's true. We didn't have too much actual morning sickness, although I think we did, but it was masked behind the pneumonia that Mrs. Lethal was still getting over. It was a wild ride when we found out we were pregnant, because she also got the diagnosis that she had pneumonia, which is awesome, Additionally, I'll add this in here too, although this didn't happen until a few months later. I can't remember exactly when it was, but when you're growing a baby, this kind of goes in the next section, but I'll tell it now. When you're growing a baby, it starts sucking out all of your nutrients from your body, and it's growing. It's insane what's happening. It's cool. But what can happen is if you have like a cavity in your teeth, or even one that wants to form, it will form, excuse me, it will form more rapidly, and it could even get worse. So Mrs. Lethal had a small cavity before pregnancy, and then we found out we were pregnant and you can't get it filled. It turned into a root canal. Like, she had to get a root canal as a pregnant lady. And now, fun fact, when you're pregnant, you can't drink, you can't smoke, you can't do anything. They can't give you regular anesthesia. They have to give you like this dumbed down version, which doesn't work. She came home just bawling in tears. She felt everything. It was really, that was a really hard day to just be in the house, because she was just a wreck. I just told her to lay down and do what you can, and I took care of the kids and everything. It was rough, but that can happen. You have to be aware of that. If you don't get your stuff taken care of, you got to up your that's why women take prenatals, is because the babies are taking so much nutrients and micronutrients, vitamins and stuff, that you need that extra bit to make sure that you don't have a root canal. So yeah, we had the going back to my original point just a second ago, the morning sickness, pneumonia. It was kind of going hand in hand. She still had that nasty cough I talked about earlier in one of the last episodes. And that was still kind of turning into, it was hard to tell where her coughing into vomiting started or ended, where the morning sickness began, kind of thing. But either way, there was vomiting. It's going to happen. Get used to it. Her hormones go crazy. Like I just said, the baby's taking all these vitamins, but also the woman's body, my wife's body, was changing and just adapting. And it's so cool. As a science kind of minded person, it was so cool to see how she was changing. But all of her womanly hormones started adjusting, and levels going up and down and doing whatever it does, and it caused all sorts of mood swings. And luckily I got out with my head intact. It wasn't that bad, really. She was great. But I have read stories and seen where women go absolutely insane because their hormones are just, on fire. And that's what it is. So I'll say this to the guys out there listening, or other support people: you got to be patient. You got to be supportive. If you have a really smooth relationship with your wife, and then all of a sudden, after you're pregnant, you start getting yelled at, or the smallest things are driving her insane, when before that didn't happen, it's the hormones. Get over it. You're not the one having to do all the heavy lifting yet. So just be patient, be supportive, hang in there, and do what you got to do what you can. Try to be proactive for things. That's a big one. Again, everyone's relationship is different, but if you're the type of person that is more reactive than proactive, turn that around, at least for 9 months. Get to be more, start to anticipate things that she's going to need, and take care of it before it gets done, or before it's being asked for, or before she needs it. That'll go a long way to making you look like a superstar. Also, in the first months, you want to start, or actually first weeks, first months, whatever, you really want to start thinking about, obviously baby names. Mrs. Lethal had a list of just dozens of names that we liked for boys and girls. At that point, you don't know what the gender is. Start getting ideas for the baby room if you have the space for it. Just start getting ideas done, because as time gets closer, these are things that you can certainly put off. We are humongous procrastinators, and we procrastinate on pretty much everything. But if you start procrastinating on this stuff, it'll start to pile up, and then you're going to start to get stressed out, and you're already going to be stressed out. It's in the nature of pregnancy. Like, you're watching your wife's belly grow bigger. I can't think of the word. And it's just like, it becomes more real and real and real. And then, your due date's in 3 weeks, and you don't even have your nursery ready. Like, you don't have the crib assembled. Okay, now I have to assemble the crib. And then you've got this other, stuff that you've been putting off. Take the time to do it now. Do it early. Save yourself some stress, especially for the woman. they don't need to be stressed out. They got enough going on with hormones and growing a baby, making sure their nutrition's okay, making sure they're taking their vitamins and doing everything they have to do. Don't leave everything on her shoulders because she's already carrying enough inside of her. So, those first months for me it was hectic. My anxiety just went through the roof. Because but as time went on, everything smoothed out and it started to get to the point where I was getting excited and pretty happy. So in the middle months is where, you talk about an order of an events, right? You get the beginning, middle, the end, and most of the change is going to happen in the middle. And that's exactly what happens during the pregnancy. I don't know the exact time, like months or anything like that, but around the middle-ish, few months, her body's going to be changing so much, things are going to be going on, and it's wild. So like Mrs. Lethal has naturally really thick hair. It gets thicker, you start finding it all over the place. It's insane. Our sink drains were clogged, our shower drain clogged. It was crazy. So get yourself a good drain cleaner and don't complain about it. Obviously, as she's growing, things are going to be more difficult to do. One important tip that I learned from an app that I'm going to talk about in a second is don't make beeping sounds when she's backing up. Like if she's walking backwards, that's a joke. But she found this app for me called Daddy Up, and it helps put into perspective for the guys what's happening with the baby. So her apps, the women's apps tend to be more fluffy, right? So it's very gender stereotypical, but hers would say something like your baby is the size of a fully ripened papaya, or some stupid thing like that. But the Daddy Up app would say your baby cub is the size of an eagle's talon and is twice as majestic, or something like that. And it just helps. It helped me get more engaged because every week I was like, "Oh, it's a new week. What does it say?" And it says, and there's also little tips in there based on like lady cues, like she might be going to the bathroom more, or morning sickness type of thing. So it was really good. So we would lay in bed at night on like Sunday night, and when the apps would turn over for the next week, and I would share what my app said, and she would share whatever lame thing her app said. And it was just really good to talk about it and kind of go through feelings and stuff. Obviously, the baby bump growing is, like I said, is going to make certain things more difficult. I'm going to say this a few times during this show, but guys, you got to be patient and you got to be supportive. Okay, anticipate things before they happen or before they're needed. One thing I like to say is, I don't care if she's standing next to the refrigerator and she wants a glass of water. Do not say, you're standing next to the refrigerator, get it yourself. You get your butt up and you go get your woman a glass of water, okay? Just do it. She's going through enough. She might even forget that she's holding a glass, okay? Brain cells, thinking cells are going to the baby to make sure that thing can grow and do what it needs to do. Do what you can for your woman. Darn it. Buy her gelato every time you go to the grocery store, unless she's lactose intolerant. Figure out a treat that she likes and get it every time. She will thank you for it. Hopefully. One day. No, Mrs. Lethal was very appreciative. I feel like I did a pretty decent job as the husband. So there's that. I have that experience. By the middle months of pregnancy, your baby room should be coming together. The registry should be coming together. And speaking of the registry, I know I touched on registry a little bit last week, but I am going to be doing a show dedicated to the things that we absolutely love, can't live without, or recommend as as a luxury thing. Because there's a ton of stuff that we've gotten that we don't use, and we got a ton of stuff that we love. And I'll be sure to cover those things. And again, if I were really smart, or like a good a good content creator, I would create like Amazon affiliate links, but I'm not that good. Checking into the Twitch chat room, Big Mike 02015 saying hello there, Big Mike. Welcome on in. Hope you're having a good Monday afternoon. Speaking of baby room, so we had a really cool baby room situation with our nursery, where Mrs. Lethal found this beautiful like watercolor style wallpaper. It's perfect. It was absolutely perfect, but it was going to be either, I think it was like $400 to do one wall, or $250 or something like that to buy it from China, but it might not get here in time. Like it would get here in such a time that we'd be kind of stressing out. And I just talked about not procrastinating. So we reached out to some friends of ours that are very crafty, very amazing, very nice people, and found out that the husband in that couple paints, and he does really good painting. And we showed him the wallpaper and said, "Hey, can you do this?" And he was like, "I think so." And it came out better than the wallpaper. It looks, and it's permanent. It's so good. It's like this beautiful watercolor, like cloud situation. We have like a sky theme in the room. It's just gorgeous. It's so good. And we're going to keep it that way until our daughter moves out. And then we'll probably still keep it that way. She won't be able to change that as she ages out of the clouds. So, use the middle months to, take care of some of the bigger things, but also don't miss the details, the minutia, the small things that might get overlooked. Create lists, look over your lists, check your baby registry, constantly just be on the lookout for stuff. And also, if you have the capability, if you have the means, start saving up. If you aren't already, start saving up. If you do already do a regular savings, add a little bit extra, because as everyone says, babies are expensive, and it's true, they are very expensive, but there will be stuff to come up that you don't expect. And it's nice to have at least a little bit of a cushion before you start eating into your real savings. Although, sometimes there are going to be things you can't get around doing that, if an emergency comes up or whatever. But, if you have, I don't know, $1,000 extra sitting in the account, and then, you get your baby home, and then the next day you go to get groceries and you have a tire blowout, you're not freaking out that you have to dip into your savings to buy a new tire. You can just dip into your baby fund. Or if you find that the bassinet that you got didn't work, or it's not working out, or whatever, you need to buy a new one or whatever. It's always nice to have that little bit of extra cushion, just so, you're putting yourself in a safe place. Because especially with babies, you can't be too careful, because you don't know what's going to happen. Anything could happen. You assume everything's going to be okay, and you assume you're going to get everything you need, and you assume, and then eventually, your baby's at home, and you go, shoot, we didn't get a crib, or we don't have a whatever you need. You got to make a late night run to Walmart, spend a few $100s, and whatever. I've harped on that enough. It's always, in any situation, it's good to have a little cushion, so you don't start eating into your actual like nest egg or your actual savings account. Anyway, so those are the middle months. Focus on getting stuff done. It is a trap. There's a middle month trap, I'm going to call it, where you look at the due date and you say, whoa, we've got 4 months. I got plenty of time. We'll put that off. And then, you look at it again. It's like, I got 3 months. It's fine. Next thing you know, that's a slippery slope. And especially depending on your personality, or your style of getting things done, you could presumably keep saying that until it's a month or 2 weeks out, and you go, uh-oh, I've been putting that thing off for 4 months, and now our baby's due in 2 weeks, and it's not done yet. And then, so let's just use as an example. So let's just say the crib. Okay, let's say we got a crib for the baby shower in August. Baby was due. Our due date was October 4. So let's just call it a month and some change of time that we had from the time of the baby shower to the time that our baby was going to be coming home. So the crib, it was an event. a mild event to put together, but if I had just kept it in the room, in the box, and said, okay, well, we got 5 weeks before the baby's here. I got plenty of time to put this crib together. It's just going to be a one-night deal. It's fine. 2 hours tops. I'll be great. A week goes by. Oh, it's 4 weeks out. It's fine. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. Then you get to the situation, you get too close, and you run into a scenario where, especially if you have a high risk, you could have to make an emergency trip to the hospital to have your baby at like any moment. Like something could happen, her water could break, or something could happen to cause you to go in before your due date. So then, yeah, you're a week early, but you kept putting off the crib, and now you're at the hospital and you have a crib in a box. Now, obviously, maybe not obviously, depending on your experience with children, you don't need a crib on day one. Like, your baby is not going to sleep in a crib for several months, probably. But I just want to use that as an example of how it can slip away for you. Time can just slip away. And then the next thing you know, you're in the hospital room waiting for your baby to be delivered. And and then I could imagine, this didn't happen to us, but I can imagine sitting in that room going, oh shoot, I forgot to put that crib together. I'm going to hate myself. Can't believe I did that. I'm stupid, whatever. You start beating yourself up because you didn't do the thing. Do the thing. Please do yourself a favor. Do yourself and your wife a favor, because chances are, if you're putting something off that needs to get done, your wife's going to be asking you about it. And be proactive and do it. Just do it. You'll thank me in the long run. Trust me. So after you've done all that stuff and the middle months are kind of waning, and you can start to see kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel, which is a bad analogy when you're talking about birth, by the way. The light at the end of the birth canal. So the last few months, or let's just call it the last month, the actual things of it should be winding down, except for maybe organizing the gifts and stuff, assembling things from the baby shower. But you want to make sure that the room is done. Okay. Now, one thing that we did really well, I'll say, is we got the room mostly done, probably like 80% done, with plenty of time before the birth. And we used it as our sanctuary. Okay. So we have a nursing chair, and it's like a rocking chair. It's semi-comfortable, and the room is like insulated from the rest of the house. So we have like a guest wing in our house, and it's kind of like in the back corner. It gets really quiet back there, even with the kids in the house. And it was just very tranquil. So we would go in there with our work laptops and just sit in the silence of this nursery and the cloud mural and the decorations, and just calm. And that was so much better than the stress of anything else that we were going through at that point. Make sure the room is done. If you have, again, everyone's house is different, but if you have the room and you're going to have a baby room, or wherever your baby is going to be primarily, living, staying, whatever, if it's a corner in the master bedroom or whatever, make sure it's done. You don't want to be stressing at the hospital thinking about stuff that you have to do. You want to be in the moment when you're at the hospital, because it flies by. During those last month, do everything in your power to comfort your wife. She is going to be uncomfortable. Everything is going to be uncomfortable. Things are going to hurt. Do not argue with her about anything. Full stop. If you guys go out anywhere and she has to take a bathroom break, don't try to push it. Don't try to ask if she can hold it a little bit. Just stop and go. There were so many times, and because of COVID, we didn't really go anywhere, but there would be times where we'd be watching a show, totally fine, and all of a sudden she popped up and could run to the bathroom, like multiple times in an hour-long show, So it happens. What ends up happening inside of her body is the baby is growing right inside of her, and the womb is pushing down on her bladder. And also what's happening in there is there's a human freaking being, and this thing's kicking and punching and moving and doing all sorts of things, and the bladder is right there. So Mrs. Lethal would say sometimes it felt like our baby was just like playing the drums on her bladder, just kicking boom, 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 boom. And it's like, you gotta go, man. Even if you've only got a quarter bladder full, like that baby's punching on it, sends signals to your brain of we're about to blow up. And you go in there, it's like, it's terrible. Oh man, that's awful, but it's true. It happens. Also, what's crazy is like in the last month especially, you'll get to really feel the baby kicking inside. You can even see it a little bit. That part, I've seen really creepy videos where it's like alien, like the hand is punching through the skin. It's like a formation almost. It's awful. It's awful looking, but like when our baby was inside, like going nuts, it always happened at night, but Mrs. Lethal would grab my hand and I would feel the kicks. Like my hand would actually be moving sometimes. So it's crazy. Or the baby would be oriented in such a way that her head would be like facing the outer, the outer wall basically of the womb, of the belly, and you could see like an extra little bump, an actual baby bump on the baby bump. It's kind of cool. It was a little creepy at first, but then it's like, dang man, at the point where that was happening, I was like fully all in, like ready to go, super excited for this baby. And at first it was like, oh, that's kind of creepy, but then it was like, oh dang, hold on, is she kicking? Let me touch, and it was really cool. It was like those first moments where you really get to experience your child. It's really powerful. Given that the due date is coming up, certain things you want to make sure you have ready to go: sanitizing stations, diaper station. You're going to need those things on day one when you come home from the hospital. You may not have the nursery room completely done, but you need a place where you can change the diapers and have wipes and sanitizer, whatever you need, because you're going to be doing diapers. And whether or not you have a diaper like changing table, we have a diaper changing table. It doubles as a dresser, so it was like one of those really cool deals that Mrs. Lethal got off of I think Facebook Market or something. It was like a Pottery Barn expensive thing originally, but we got it for a steal. But yeah, it's so we made sure that we had that thing ready at the very least, stocked with diapers, plenty of baby wipes. We have the butt cream, hand sanitizers, like all the things. Make sure you have them, because you're like, those certain things you will need on day one. There's no questions asked about that. The other thing that I'll say, also continuing on this vein, and a lot of the books and blogs and YouTube videos and stuff, and including this one, will tell you to have your bags packed ahead of time. And I can't stress that enough, especially if you're in a high risk situation, or if it's just in general getting close to the due date. Because when you're going naturally, so we had to be induced, so we had a schedule. But if you're going naturally and just waiting until your contractions are going bananas, you may be put into a situation where you have to grab your bag and go. So have a bag ready for each of you, at least one bag with a change of clothes, your toiletries, just basic necessities, charging cables, buy extra charging cables, get a long cable. Like Amazon sells like a 9-foot long USB-C cable that I just bought. Just arbitrarily, I need extra chargers around the house. But one thing that was kind of crappy about I almost said hotel room, the hospital room that we were in, is like, it wasn't really configured in a way where we were really close to a power outlet. So it was like a really long stretch of power cord in the room so that Mrs. Lethal could have her phone and it was fully charged and whatever. So get yourself an extra long cable. Bring a few of them. Bring snacks. Our room, we had a really nice, and I'll talk about this next week, but we went to one of the best baby delivery I said hotels again, hospitals in at least Florida, but possibly the country. And they had room service. Every hospital is different, but it was included, quote unquote, included. It was quote unquote free, quote unquote. I don't think so, quote unquote. They make the guest pay, but the women could eat for free as much as they wanted. It was mediocre at best, but it was sustenance. But it gets to be 9 o'clock at night, the cafe is closed, and maybe you just want some chips. So if you have your chips, you can eat them, because you don't really want to leave the hospital if you can stand it. Obviously, the woman can't leave, but as the guy, or the support person, whatever, you don't want to leave because anything could happen. Especially when you're getting closer and closer. Time is limited. Time is volatile. It's a volatile resource. So if you go, for 20 minutes up to the store to grab, some drinks and some snacks, and you come back, you could come to a room full of doctors and nurses like wheeling your wife out to go give go give birth or whatever, something happened and you weren't there. And then you will never hear about that. You will never not hear about that for the rest of your life. Checking in again on the Twitch chat, Rat Pack. What's going on, man? Welcome on in. Another thing for the guys, know your plan. Most women, I would say, take their birthing plan very seriously, and you should, I'm not saying be necessarily a part of the planning, but if you have a certain feeling about something, make sure your opinion gets voiced. It's not up to you, but if you have a strong conviction about something, like if you have a strong conviction against C-sections, but your wife is kind of like blasé about it, just say something. It's not going to be up to you, but if you have a strong conviction, it could just be good to get that off your chest, so you're both on the same page and coming from a place of knowledge for each of you. But at the very minimum, know if you're planning on going natural, epidural or not. Are you planning for a C-section? Do you prefer a C-section? These are types of things you want to know, and you also need to know some of the backup plans. It's like, we wanted to go natural, but we also knew that at a certain point we were going to have to call it and go C-section. We didn't, but there was a certain point in the birthing where it was like, okay, if this baby doesn't come out in the next 45 minutes, we got to go in. And that's scary, but what are you going to do? There's not really much you can do. Epidural, some women don't want an epidural. I saw my wife writhing in pain on an epidural. I couldn't imagine what it would have been like if she didn't have that. Although realistically, she didn't really describe it so much as pain, but it was just like extreme pressure, which sounds about the same to me. Extreme uncomfortability, but know those things because it will help. You need to be an advocate. And I hate to say this because I've seen it on so many of the videos we watched, and it's kind of a cliche thing to say when you're in like the pregnancy world, of be an advocate for the pregnant woman at the hospital. If she needs something, make sure you're speaking up, ask questions, don't rely on her to do everything. Just a simple thing was like they would come in every once in a while, kind of frequently, and check on her and check her thing, check this, check that, refill her water. They give us like these actually quart, sorry for those of you listening audio only, it's a ginormous cup. It's like a big gulp cup almost. And they fill it with ice water. And one important thing when you're in the hot, just in general, stay hydrated, but when you're about to give birth, when you're really relying on fluids happening, you need to stay hydrated. And Mrs. Lethal was just going through water like something that goes through a lot of water. So they would come in and fill it, and there was a couple points where it was like she was on empty and she was really thirsty, and I just went out and found a nurse, get the water. Just don't wait for the nurses to come find you. Go do the work yourself, gain some extra brownie points. Another thing that would be a decent idea is making a test drive to the hospital. We lucked out because the hospital that we went to was really close to one of, if not the best taco place in Orlando. So we use that as an excuse. Oh, we have to go to the hospital and make our test run. Also, there's this taco place. Oh, darn. Obviously, this isn't such a big deal in the age of GPS and everyone's got the phone that can get you there, but knowing just the route so you're not so stressed out, trying to get there for maybe the first time while your wife is potentially in labor, make it easier for yourself. Even if you go by yourself, just do it. Just make a drive out there, and at least I don't know how it is around. Around the country, around the world, whatever. But in Orlando, we're doing construction out the wazoo. Construction is crazy here, and I've been driving home from work one time, and let's just say I drove home from work on a Monday night, and then my drive home from work on Tuesday night, my off ramp was completely different. Completely different. It was like a mile closer, and they changed the lanes, and it was raining. Not saying that that's necessarily going to happen to you or to anybody making a test run to the hospital, but that's something that happened just on a normal day for me because they do so much construction around here. So, maybe you have gone to the hospital before, maybe 5 years ago you had to go because whatever, you had to go to the ER because, I don't know, you got gangrene in your foot. Why did I go with gangrene? Maybe because that's like the least common thing I could possibly think of. But, even if you have already been to the hospital at some point in the past, make the run anyway. The roads may have changed. Familiarize yourself with where the labor and delivery section is, and know where to park and all that stuff. Get it out of the way sooner rather than later, so that way you know where you're going and not have to solely rely on the computer to get you there. Because that'll be the night, if you've never been, that'll be the night where maybe it is raining, you're having to look down at your phone. Maybe your wife is going through some contractions in the car seat next to you, not the car seat, but in the seat next to you, and you're already stressed out because you're having a baby, and you don't want to put yourself in that position. Another thing, and they make you do this before you can even take your baby home, but make sure your car seat is installed correctly, because you're going to need that. You need a rear facing car seat to bring your baby home. Otherwise, I know our hospital wouldn't even let you leave without one, which is weird. I don't know how they would enforce that. I didn't test them on it, but they even have certified. Our hospital did. I don't know your hospital, but our hospital had certified Department of Transportation people in the front waiting for people to be discharged with their babies, and they would do a complimentary check of your car seat, make sure it's strapped in correctly and tight and all that stuff. But do that. You need to. There's no choice. You have to do it. Another thing to keep in mind is when you come home with a baby, you are not going to want to do anything. You are going to be tired. That is a stereotype, and it is absolutely true. If you have the bandwidth before the baby is born, consider making some freezer meals. I made a few batches of freezer enchiladas, chicken enchiladas. They came out great. Then weeks later, after I'd thawed them out and cooked them up, or buy frozen, but you rely on your freezer to do some of the work for you, because you are not going to want to cook. Take it from me, Chef Lethal. It's in my name, Chef Lethal. I love cooking. It is my passion. It is one of my passions in life, is cooking. And there were days I would look at the kitchen and just say, I'll just have a sandwich, because I couldn't even bring myself to think about cooking. Do yourself a favor, invest in your future, make some stuff and put it in the freezer, or buy, I'm sure there are meal services you could get where they deliver you frozen meals, or just go to the grocery store and buy some, Marie Callender's stuff that you can throw in the freezer. I'm not going to judge you. This is a no judgment zone. I don't care what you do, but make yourself have a better time. Don't unnecessarily burden yourself, especially when it comes to food, because you will miss meals, you will have cold coffee, and I'm living proof of that. And then the last main point that I want to kind of drive home here is, particularly for the men, but really anyone involved in a pregnancy, is to be invested. Okay. And I know it might sound kind of stupid, but it's your kid. I'm just going to assume that it's your kid, but it's your kid, right? Growing inside of your wife. Be interested. It's understandable that you're not maybe excited about it in the beginning. it's okay to be scared. It's okay to not want the baby. Okay? That doesn't make you a bad person. I have admitted on this show, even today, that after we found out that we were pregnant, I was not excited. I was not happy. I don't want to say I wouldn't say I was necessarily sad, but I wasn't happy. You know, there were a couple times where I thought, this is our out. Now, again, I've touched on my faith, and we don't believe in abortion. There was no hope that there was no way possible that we were going to abort the baby. Even as unprepared as we were, as whatever, like we were having the baby no matter what, unless nature did work for us, right? And there was a few scares. I was like, this might be our way out. And it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to even think about that's how I felt back then, because I love my daughter so damn much. She means the absolute world to me. And I'm just being completely transparent, honest with you guys. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to see a therapist, talk to somebody, talk to your wife, talk to your parents, talk to your in-laws, talk to whoever you can to get your feelings out. You may not be able to get the answers you're looking for. You may not get the comfort right away, but you need to know that it's okay to not be okay. And I know I'm just some guy on the internet, and there's a lot of criticism for people that try to be like, give therapist type advice on the internet and tell you it's going to be okay. It might not be okay. You know, you might have to get on some medicine to cool your nerves, or, you know, whatever. You might have some anxiety. That's totally normal. I did it. Okay. I mean, I was already on nerve stuff anyway, but I had a therapist. I went to my therapist. I told him, I was like, I'm scared. I don't want it. And this is what it is, you know? And then we talked it through, and as time went on, the phases changed. Okay. And everyone is different. It's going to happen for people in a different time. And I'm assuming here, I'm going off on a limb that you're a relatively well-adjusted human. You don't have any serious, like, and this kind of sounds like I'm being jokey, but any serious mental issues. And you're capable of love and capable of all these things. But I'm just being real, you know. Be interested, you know, ask questions. Ask, you know, if your wife is mentioning something she feels, don't just dismiss her, you know, and continue doom scrolling on Twitter. You know, ask her about it. Be interested. Fake it if you have to. It will mean a lot. Not if you fake it, but it will mean a lot to your woman if you are being involved and being engaged and asking questions and doing your own research. Read the book that she got. Do your own read. Look up your Google. Your Google is going to change no matter what. My Google search history for the months leading up to, is it okay if pregnancy blah, or pregnancy, you know, just everything was, is this okay during pregnancy, or is this normal during pregnancy? And hey, spoiler alert, after you have your baby, it turns into, is something safe for baby? Is something for baby? You know, it's like everything changes. Your life's going to change. You're having a baby. Okay. So it's okay. Be interested, try to get excited, find something to be excited about. Find something that you can run away to if you need to. I play video games. I was able to, you know, if I was starting to feel stressed, or if I had a night just thinking like, damn, we're having this baby, and it would like bring me down, I would just zone out on Minecraft or something and kind of just forget about it for a little bit, you know. But time goes on, and you know, I started to get happy, and that turned into excitement, and then the excitement just turned into joy. And then we had our birth, and I'll talk about that later. And then here's my closing point. And I want, if you get nothing else out of this show, out of this episode in particular, I want you to get this. Whether you are in the relationship that's giving birth, or you are a friend to somebody that is giving birth, maybe you want to give them a gift, get the house clean. Clean the house. You can't do it the day before. Now, again, we were induced. We had an induction, so we kind of knew when we were going to go, so we could kind of plan around that. But you're going to be coming home with a baby. The literal last thing you're going to want to or be able to do is clean up your house. It's going to fall into complete disarray, and it will feel so like, you guys ever go on vacation and you come home to a clean house, or you go on vacation, you come home to a dirty house? Like maybe you forgot to do the dishes, you've got some dishes in your sink, or even just go away for a weekend, you come back. There's such a stark difference in how you feel when you come home to a clean house versus when you come home to a dirty house. And it escalates like tenfold with a baby, because if you come home to a dirty house, not only are you going to be stressed by the fact that your house is dirty, you're going to be doubly stressed that your house is dirty and you're not going to have time to clean it because you're taking care of a baby. So do it before you have a baby. If you can't do it, and maybe you get some extra Benjamins you can throw around, hire somebody to do it. Now, granted, we're in COVID, we're in a pandemic right now. It can be a little tricky. You know, you might not, wow, words. You might not be so comfortable letting somebody into your house to do that. But if you're not having a baby in the middle of a global pandemic, consider hiring somebody to do it for you. And then now that way you can focus on doing other things, you know? Or if you're looking to give somebody a gift at the baby shower, you know, maybe pull them aside and say, hey, you know, I got you those bibs that were on your list, but, you know, would you be interested in, you know, having a house cleaner? I'll chip in $100 to, you know, have somebody come over and at least do the basics, vacuum, do the dishes. You know, it doesn't have to be anything spectacular, dust, but it's just so much more comforting to come home to a clean house, because you're going to have enough to deal with. The last thing you're going to want to do is worry about the hairballs floating around your living room because your cats have gone bananas and you need to vacuum. Have somebody else do it for you. So that's the main point. Pregnancy is wild. Okay, the whole thing is weird. It's weird and wild. Not wet and wild. It's weird and wild. But it's kind of fun, I guess. He says as he scratches his face nervously and his eye twitches. You got to look for things to be fun sometimes. It can absolutely and will be hard. It's trying. It's 9 months. 9 months is simultaneously a long time and a short time. Before you know it, you're going to find out you're pregnant. Next thing you know, it's been 8 months and you're knocking on, you know, on the hospital's door, ready to be let in soon. It happens so fast because there's so much to do. But if you space it out, take some of my advice, I feel like you're going to have an easier time. You know, now I'm not going to tell you what things that I have mentioned in the show that we did and didn't do, or what things I regret not doing. I'm not going to do it because I don't remember. I remember some of it. But yeah, there's so much going on and you just got to take care of stuff. Okay. So all that to say, I'm still loving the show, guys. Let me know if any of this is remotely useful to you. Leave a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. Hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell. I don't know. I don't do that for people. I don't hit notification bell on YouTube, but YouTubers always say to subscribe and hit the notification bell. So do that thing if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, maybe you're on twitch.tv/ChefLethalPlays watching live right now. Thank you so much. Maybe you're on twitch.tv/ChefLethalPlays and watching the uploaded recording that I made. Welcome. Maybe you're on Spotify and you can just only hear my symphonic voice permeating your earlobes, which that's not where sound goes, but whatever. You know, let me know. Shoot me a DM. My DMs are open on Twitter. You can tweet me. Do whatever you got to do. If you've enjoyed the show, maybe you want to throw a couple dollars at my face. Ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/cheflethal will allow you to spend a few dollars if you wish to support the show. The website advertises it as buy a coffee for your favorite content creator, and let me tell you, I have been drinking tons of it. It's insane. So much coffee. Anyway, that's going to be it for this week. I can't thank you enough. If you can hear my voice right now, there is no tangible way I can thank you enough for listening to the show. It really does mean the world to me. I know right now, at the time of this recording, there aren't a ton of you, but it means the absolute world to me. I love it so much. I love doing this, and if you're enjoying it, thank you as well for hanging out, tuning in, listening, whatever it is that you're doing. Next week, guys, it's happening. Okay. So far, the shows have been leading up to birthday. Next week, we're talking about my experience, our experience at the hospital from the moment that we arrived until the moment of birth. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about our time at the hospital from birth to discharge. So, although saying discharge at the hospital, that's kind of gross, right? It's a gross word, but regardless, we're going to basically be doing a two-parter where next week we're talking about up to birth, and then the following week talking about getting the heck out of there. So until next time, Chef Lethal here signing off saying, wishing you, wow, I can't even say my outro correctly. Great job, Chef. I don't normally talk for an hour straight, but here we are. Let me try this again. Ignore that. I'll edit this out in post. Until next time, this is Chef Lethal signing off, wishing you a full plate and a fresh, hot coffee.